I never thought I'd be the kind of guy who snoops. You know, the type who hovers outside a door, listening, heart pounding like a war drum. But that's exactly where I found myself that night. Standing in the hallway outside our bedroom, shadows stretching long under the dim hallway light, ear pressed to the thin wood of the door. And what I heard on the other side, it changed everything. It started like this. 3 weeks ago, my wife, Emily, came to me with tears in her eyes. I remember the way she clutched her phone, how her hands trembled, her face pale and serious. "I'm pregnant," she said, and then she laughed through the tears. "We're going to have a baby, Mark." I was stunned. Happy, sure, but stunned. We'd stopped trying a year ago. Doctors had told us the chances were slim. And yet, here she was, a miracle wrapped in nervous smiles and wet eyelashes. "Are you sure?" I asked. She nodded, held up the test. I took 3. All positive. That night, we celebrated. We ordered takeout from the greasy burger place down the road, watched old movies on the couch, her head on my chest. I felt whole in a way I hadn't in years. Hopeful. Like the universe had finally decided to cut us a break. But then, little things started to chip away at that perfect picture. Emily was distant. Not cold, exactly, but distracted. I'd catch her staring off into space, her phone always close, always flipped face down. She started taking long walks alone. Long phone calls in the car, where she'd pull into the driveway but sit there for another 20 minutes before coming inside. I told myself it was hormones, stress, the weight of what was coming. But deep down, something gnawed at me. Then tonight happened. I was coming home late from work. I parked in the driveway, engine still humming, when I saw the faint glow of the bedroom light upstairs. Emily was talking. Laughing. I figured she was on the phone, but as I walked up the stairs, I realized her voice wasn't alone. There was someone else. Another woman's voice. Low, urgent. I paused outside the door. My hand hovered over the knob. And then, curiosity got the better of me. "Are you sure he doesn't suspect anything?" the other woman asked. Emily let out a shaky breath. "No. He doesn't. He thinks it's his." My stomach twisted. I pressed my ear harder against the door. "And you haven't told him?" the woman pressed. "No," Emily whispered. "I can't. Not yet. He's so happy. I can't take that from him." There was a silence then. A deep, heavy silence that seemed to crush the air out of the room. "But he deserves to know," the woman said gently. "It's not fair to him." Emily's voice cracked. "I know. But, it's not just my secret. It's yours too, Olivia." Olivia. Her best friend. I'd known Olivia since college. She was like family. Always at our house, always a part of our lives. My mind raced, connecting dots that didn't seem to fit. "He wouldn't understand," Emily said, her voice trembling. "He wouldn't forgive me." "He deserves the truth," Olivia repeated. "You can't keep pretending. Especially once the baby's here." The baby. My baby, or was it? I felt the floor sway beneath me. I backed away from the door, heart slamming in my chest. I stumbled down the hall, into the guest room, shut the door quietly behind me. My hands were shaking. My mind a whirlwind of panic and confusion. What secret? What truth? I sat on the edge of the bed, staring into the dark. Was Emily cheating on me? Was the baby not mine? Or, something else? Her words echoed in my head, "It's not just my secret. It's yours too, Olivia." I thought back over the last few months. The sudden pregnancy. The long absences. The whispered phone calls. How had I missed it? How had I been so blind? I knew one thing, I couldn't confront her. Not yet. I needed answers first. I needed to know what I was up against. The next morning, I acted like nothing happened. Made coffee. Kissed her cheek. Watched her pack her tote bag before leaving for another mysterious appointment. As soon as she was out the door, I grabbed her laptop. Password protected. Same with her phone. Locked up tighter than a vault. But then, her tablet. It was charging on the kitchen counter. Unlocked. Open to her email. I hesitated. I knew this was crossing a line. But after last night, the line didn't feel so clear anymore. I scrolled through the inbox. Doctor's appointments. Insurance claims. And then, a string of emails with Olivia. The subject line made my blood run cold: surrogacy agreement. I opened the thread. My hands trembled as I read. Legal documents. Medical forms. Embryo transfer schedules. Appointments at fertility clinics. Emily's name, Olivia's name. And then, the most recent email. A message from Olivia, time-stamped last night. I still can't believe you went through with it. I'm so grateful, Em. But, are you sure about not telling Mark? I feel awful about lying to him. Especially since you decided not to do IVF after all. IVF. Decided not to. Another email followed, Emily's reply. I couldn't go through with the injections. The hormones were making me sick. And we didn't have time. I had to do it the natural way. It was the only way to guarantee it would work. I froze. The words blurred on the screen. The natural way. I scrolled further. A message from 3 months ago. It has to be him, Liv. I know it's insane. But it's the fastest way. He's healthy. He's willing. And he loves you. He wants this baby as much as you do. My throat closed up. My chest burned. Who was he? And then. Olivia's reply, clear as a knife. Thank you, Emily. Thank you for doing this for me and Matt. I swear, we'll make this right. Matt. Olivia's boyfriend. The pieces slammed together, a puzzle I never wanted to solve. Emily, my wife, had slept with Matt. To get pregnant. Not for me. For Olivia. For them. I shut the tablet slowly, my reflection staring back in the dark screen. A stranger's face. My own. I felt hollow. Betrayed. Numb. But above all, I felt the ache of a question I wasn't sure I wanted answered. Why? And how long had I been living inside this lie? I don't know how long I sat there at the kitchen table, staring at the dark screen of the tablet. Minutes. Hours. It didn't matter. Time had folded in on itself. The world I thought I lived in, the world where I was going to be a father, where my wife loved me, where everything finally made sense, had unraveled in an instant. And now? Now I was sitting in the ruins of it, trying to figure out how the hell I hadn't seen it coming. I heard the front door open. Footsteps. Emily's voice floated in, soft and tired. Mark. You home? I snapped out of my daze. Quickly, I pushed the tablet back onto the counter, making sure it looked exactly as it had before. I stood up, forcing a smile onto my face, though every muscle in my body resisted. Hey, I called out, meeting her in the hallway. How was your day? She set down her bag and sighed, rubbing the back of her neck. Long. I'm exhausted. I watched her carefully. She looked normal. Not like someone hiding a life-altering secret. But then again, what did I expect? A neon sign above her head. You feeling okay? I asked, trying to keep my voice light. She smiled faintly. A little nauseous. Doctor said it's normal. Just part of the ride, right? I nodded, swallowing the bitter taste rising in my throat. Right. Part of the ride. If only she knew. We had dinner quietly. I couldn't taste a thing. Every time she spoke, every time she looked at me, I wondered, did she feel guilty? Did she think about what she'd done every time she looked me in the eye? Or had she convinced herself it was justified? That night, lying beside her in the dark, I stared at the ceiling while her breathing slowed, deepened. Sleep claimed her so easily. And me? I lay awake, listening to the hum of the heater, the occasional creak of the house, the quiet beating of my own broken heart. In the silence, my thoughts ran wild. Did she love him? Matt. Had it been just one night? Or more? Did she think I'd never find out? I knew I couldn't keep this inside forever. I had to talk to someone. Someone who wasn't involved. Someone who could help me figure out what the hell to do next. The next morning, after she left for another one of her mysterious appointments, I called Jake. My oldest friend. My best man at our wedding. The guy who'd been there through every high and low. Dude, you okay? You sound weird, he said as soon as he picked up. I need to talk. In person. Can you meet me? Sure. What's going on? I don't even know where to start. We met at the coffee shop near his office. The second I saw him, I felt the dam inside me crack. Over lukewarm coffee and the low hum of background chatter, I told him everything. About Emily's late-night conversation with Olivia. About the emails. About the natural way. About Matt. Jake sat there, silent, his brow furrowed deeper with every word. When I finally stopped talking, he leaned back in his chair and let out a long breath. Holy hell, man. That's insane. Yeah, I said bitterly. Tell me about it. He rubbed his jaw thoughtfully. And you're sure? About all of it. I read the emails myself. I heard her talking to Olivia. She said it wasn't my baby. Jake shook his head slowly. Man. I don't even know what to say. Yeah, I repeated, staring into my coffee. Me neither. We sat in silence for a while. Then he leaned forward again. So, what are you gonna do? That was the question, wasn't it? I had no idea. Every part of me wanted to storm home, confront her, demand answers. But another part, some cold, rational part one barely recognized, told me to wait. To listen. To get the whole story before I blew everything up. I don't know, I admitted. I want to scream at her. I want to walk away. But I still love her, Jake. God help me, I still love her. Jake gave me a sad smile. That's because you're a good guy, man. Better than most. I didn't feel like a good guy. I felt like a fool. I need to hear it from her, I said quietly. I need to hear the truth. All of it. Jake nodded. Yeah. You deserve that much. We parted ways, and I drove home slowly, my mind churning. When I pulled into the driveway, Emily's car was already there. My stomach twisted. I wasn't ready. Not yet. Inside, she was sitting on the couch, flipping through a baby name book. She looked up and smiled when she saw me. Hey, babe, she said. You were out late. Yeah. Just needed some air, I lied. Everything okay? Her eyes searched mine, concerned. I forced another smile. Yeah. Just work stress. She patted the cushion beside her. Come sit. Help me pick names. I walked over slowly. Sat down beside her. I watched as she pointed out names, laughed at the strange ones, circled a few favorites. And all I could think was, how can you sit here like nothing's wrong? How can you plan a life with me when you've already given it to someone else? I didn't sleep that night either. The next morning, I waited until she left. Then I called Olivia. Her voice was cautious when she picked up. Mark. Yeah. Can we talk? There was a long pause. Does Emily know you're calling me? No, I said. And I need you to be honest with me, Olivia. Please. She sighed softly. Okay. I know, I said quietly. I know about the surrogacy. I know about Matt. I know everything. There was silence on the line. Then, I'm so sorry, Mark. I never wanted it to happen this way. Why? My voice broke. Why didn't anyone tell me? Why lie to me? It wasn't supposed to be like this, she said, her voice trembling. We tried IVF. It didn't work. We were desperate. Emily, she offered. She wanted to help me. I begged her not to do it naturally, but she insisted. She said it would be faster. She said it didn't mean anything. I closed my eyes, swallowing the lump in my throat. Didn't mean anything, I echoed bitterly. She loves you, Mark, Olivia whispered. She really does. She just wanted to help me have a family. I opened my eyes. Stared at the ceiling. At the cost of mine, I said softly. I'm sorry, she said again. I really am. I ended the call. I sat in the quiet house, staring at nothing, my chest hollow. I had the answers now. But the weight of them pressed down on me, heavier than I'd imagined. And still, the biggest question remained. Could I ever forgive her? Could I ever look at her again without seeing Matt's face? Without remembering every lie? I didn't know. But I knew one thing for sure. The life I thought I had was gone. And whatever came next would never be the same. The rest of the day passed in a blur. I wandered around the house, touching things absently, the blanket draped over the arm of the couch, the tiny onesies Emily had already bought, folded neatly in a drawer in the spare room that was meant to become the nursery. Every object felt like a quiet betrayal. Every corner of the house whispered a secret I hadn't been meant to hear. When Emily came home that evening, she was glowing. Literally glowing. She set down a small shopping bag on the kitchen counter and pulled out a framed ultrasound photo. They printed this for me today, she said, beaming. Isn't it amazing? I stared at it. The faint, grainy outline of a tiny life inside her. My child, or rather, not my child. A child that wasn't mine, that never would be. Yeah. It's something, I managed. My voice felt foreign, like it belonged to someone else. She tilted her head. You okay? You seem quiet. Just tired, I said quickly. Long day. She nodded, her eyes lingering on me a moment longer. Then she turned her attention back to the photo, tracing it with her finger, a soft smile on her lips. Watching her, something inside me twisted painfully. There was so much love in her face. So much hope. And yet, none of it was for us. That night, while she showered, I sat on the edge of the bed, staring at the closed bathroom door. I could hear the water running, muffled singing, her favorite old song, the one she used to hum while cooking. I wondered if she'd sung it for Matt, too. If she'd held him the way she held me. If, in that moment, standing naked under the spray, she thought of him instead of me. When she came out, wrapped in a towel, I looked away. I couldn't bear it. Mark, she said softly, sitting beside me. Talk to me. I forced a smile, shaking my head. It's nothing. Just work stuff. Go to bed, Em. She watched me for a long time. Then finally kissed my cheek and crawled under the covers. I waited until I was sure she was asleep before leaving the room. I sat in the dark living room, listening to the clock tick, the refrigerator hum, the occasional passing car outside. And I realized something. I couldn't do this much longer. Pretending. Smiling. Nodding along while every part of me screamed. The next morning, I told my boss I was taking a personal day. I needed time. Space. A plan. I found myself driving aimlessly, down streets I hadn't seen in years, past old hangouts, old memories. And somehow, without meaning to, I ended up parked outside Olivia's house. I hadn't planned it. But there I was, engine idling, staring at her front door. Before I could overthink it, I got out. Walked up. Knocked. It took a minute, but she answered, surprise flashing across her face. Mark, she said, pulling the door closer around her robe. What are you doing here? I need answers, I said, my voice steady, even though inside I was shaking. She hesitated, then stepped aside. Come in. I followed her into the living room. It looked the same as always, warm, cozy, with framed photos of her and Matt on the mantel. A happy couple. A perfect life. How much did you know? I asked quietly, standing in the middle of the room. She sank onto the couch, folding her hands in her lap. From the beginning, she admitted. Emily told me everything. Every step. We planned it together. I sat across from her, stunned by the calmness in her voice. And Matt? I asked. He agreed. She hesitated. At first, no. He didn't want to. But Emily convinced him. She said it would be cleaner. More natural. Less expensive than more IVF rounds. I let out a bitter laugh. Cleaner. That's what they called it. Olivia looked down, ashamed. I begged her to tell you. I told her you deserved to know. But she said it would only hurt you. That you'd never agree. And she wanted to do this for me. For you, I repeated, the words like poison in my mouth. Yes, Olivia whispered. She loves you, Mark. She really does. But she also loves me. We've been friends since college. She couldn't watch me suffer anymore. I stared at her. And you didn't think it might destroy me to find out this way? Tears welled in her eyes. I didn't want this. I swear. I thought, if it worked, if everything went smoothly, you'd never have to know. I leaned forward, my elbows on my knees. And after? What was the plan? Just hand over the baby and pretend it never happened. She wiped her eyes. We didn't think that far. We were desperate, Mark. Desperate people do stupid things. I sat back, feeling the weight of it all crush down on me. I need to ask you something, I said quietly. Do you think Emily had feelings for him? For Matt? Olivia shook her head quickly. No. God, no. She hated it. She told me every time how awkward it was. How she couldn't wait for it to be over. I closed my eyes. Somehow, that didn't make it better. I should go, I said, standing up. Olivia stood too. Mark, please. Don't hate her. She really thought she was doing the right thing. I paused at the door, looking back at her. Sometimes the right thing for one person is the wrong thing for everyone else. She said nothing. Just watched as I walked away. Back in my car, I sat for a long time, gripping the steering wheel. Then I started the engine. And for the first time in weeks, I felt a strange clarity. I couldn't change what had happened. I couldn't undo the lies. But I could decide what came next. And I knew one thing for sure. Before anything else, Emily owed me the truth. No more lies. No more pretending. Tonight, I would finally confront her. I didn't know what would happen. I didn't know if we'd survive it. But I couldn't carry this alone anymore. I couldn't be the only one living in the shadow of a secret that wasn't mine. I drove home slowly, rehearsing the words in my head. When I walked in, Emily was sitting on the couch again, flipping through the baby name book. She looked up and smiled. Hey, babe, she said. Good day. I closed the door behind me. And for the first time, I didn't smile back. We need to talk, I said. Her smile faded. She knew. She knew the moment she saw my face. And in that moment, I realized. Everything was about to change. She set the baby name book down slowly, her hands trembling just a little. I watched the color drain from her face as she took me in, really looked at me. I wondered what she saw in that moment. A husband? A stranger? An enemy? Mark, she said softly, her voice cautious. What's wrong? I stepped closer, but kept my distance. I couldn't sit beside her. Not now. I wasn't ready for closeness. I know, Emily, I said quietly. Her lips parted, confusion flickering across her face. No, what? I exhaled, feeling the words burn on my tongue. I know you're not having my baby. The silence that followed was suffocating. Her mouth opened, then closed again, as if the words wouldn't come. Her eyes filled with panic. Mark. I know you're carrying Olivia's baby, I cut her off, my voice steady despite the storm inside. I know you slept with Matt. I know it wasn't some clinic procedure. I know everything, Emily. Her hand flew to her mouth. Tears welled instantly, spilling over. Oh, God, she whispered. Oh, Mark. I swallowed hard. How long were you going to lie to me? I wasn't. She stopped herself, her breath hitching. I was going to tell you. I swear I was. I didn't know how. Not knowing how isn't the same as never intending to, I said bitterly. You let me believe this baby was ours. You let me dream. Plan. Hope. And all along, you knew it wasn't true. She wiped her tears furiously. I wanted it to be yours. God, Mark, I wanted it to be ours. But it wasn't happening. We tried for years. And Olivia, she's my best friend. She was breaking, Mark. Watching her lose hope over and over. And when she asked, you said yes, I finished for her. She nodded miserably. Yes. I couldn't say no. But you didn't just say yes, I said, the anger rising now, hot and sharp. You didn't just offer to carry her baby. You didn't just volunteer. You slept with Matt. You chose that way. Her shoulders sagged. We tried IVF first. Twice. It failed. The doctor said we'd need more treatments, more money, and Olivia was out of savings. I thought, if I could help them without all that. So you decided the natural way was best. I said incredulously. Without even talking to me. She winced. I didn't think you'd agree. You're damn right I wouldn't have agreed. I exploded. You're my wife, Emily. How could you think it was okay to sleep with another man, any man, without even telling me? I didn't love him, she cried. It wasn't about that. It wasn't romantic, Mark. It was clinical, mechanical. We didn't even look at each other. I swear. I shook my head, pacing now, trying to make sense of it all. Do you even hear yourself? You turned our marriage into a contract I wasn't a part of. You made a choice that changed everything, without me. She stood, wrapping her arms around herself. I was trying to help. I thought, maybe if it worked, it could be a blessing. I thought you'd be proud of me. I stopped pacing, staring at her in disbelief. Proud. My voice cracked. Proud of what? Of raising someone else's child while you kept the truth hidden. Proud of being the last to know. She burst into sobs then, collapsing onto the couch. I never wanted to hurt you, Mark. I swear to God. I thought once the baby was born, once Olivia had her family, we could go back to normal. There's no going back to normal, Emily, I said quietly. Not from this. We sat in silence. Her crying. Me watching the wreckage between us. After a while, she wiped her face and looked up at me, her eyes swollen and raw. Do you hate me? She whispered. I hesitated. I don't know what I feel right now. I'm angry. I'm heartbroken. But hate. I don't think I can hate you, Emily. I don't know if I can trust you. She nodded slowly, like she'd expected that. Mark, she said, her voice fragile, I never meant for you to find out like this. I wanted to tell you, after. I didn't want to ruin the pregnancy with pain and guilt. I thought I was protecting you. I let out a hollow laugh. You weren't protecting me, Emily. You were protecting yourself. You didn't want to face what this would do to us. She opened her mouth, then closed it again, her lips trembling. I talked to Olivia, I added. Yesterday. She stiffened. What did she say? She told me you insisted on doing it this way. That you wouldn't consider any other option. She looked down. I thought it was the fastest way. The most sure. Sure for who? I demanded. Not for me. Not for our marriage. She pressed her hands to her face. I was trying to do something good, Mark. I swear. I wasn't thinking clearly. I was so desperate to help her, and I didn't stop to think what it would cost us. I sat down across from her, leaning forward, elbows on my knees. And now? What happens now? She looked up, eyes shining with fresh tears. I don't know. Neither did I. The silence stretched between us again, heavy, suffocating. Finally, she whispered, "Do you want me to leave?" The question hit me like a punch. I'd imagined leaving her 1,000 times since I found out. Walking away. Starting over. But now, hearing her offer it, so small, so broken, I felt the weight of it differently. "I don't know if leaving fixes this," I said quietly. "I don't even know if staying can." She wiped her face again. "Do you still love me?" I hesitated. "I do. But love isn't the problem." "Then what is?" she asked, voice cracking. "Trust," I said. "And trust, that's harder to rebuild than love." She looked down again, silent. I stood, walking to the window, staring out at the street, watching the world go by like nothing had changed. But for me, everything had. "I need time, Emily," I said, my voice low. "I need space to figure out what I want. What I can live with." She nodded behind me. "I understand." But we both knew, understanding wasn't enough. Not anymore. That night, I slept in the guest room. Not out of anger. Not as punishment. But because the space between us had grown too wide to cross in a single night. And as I lay there in the dark, listening to her quiet crying down the hall, I realized. The hardest part wasn't the betrayal. It was knowing that no matter what I chose next, nothing would ever be the same again. The next morning, the house felt hollow. I could hear Emily moving around in the kitchen, quiet footsteps, the clink of a spoon against a mug, but she didn't call for me. She didn't come knock on the guest room door. It was as if we'd both silently agreed, we didn't know how to talk anymore. I sat on the edge of the bed, staring at the floor, wondering how many more mornings like this were coming. Wondering if I was waiting for forgiveness, or for an ending. When I finally walked into the kitchen, she looked up from her tea. Her eyes were swollen from crying. She tried to smile, but it faltered almost immediately. "I made coffee," she offered softly. "Thanks," I said, though I wasn't sure I wanted it. We stood there for a moment, two people who used to know everything about each other, now unable to fill a silence. "I'm going to stay at Olivia's for a few days," Emily said finally, her hands wrapped around her mug like she needed it to stay steady. I think you need space. And I need to figure out how to fix this." "Emily," I started, but she shook her head. "I know I can't undo what I've done," she said quickly. "I know no amount of apologies will make it right. But I want to give you time to breathe. To think. And if there's any hope left, I'll wait for it." I looked at her, at the woman I'd loved for so long, and felt a pang of something deeper than anger. Grief. "You don't have to leave," I said, though part of me wondered if I meant it. She gave a sad smile. "I think I do." She packed a small bag in silence. I stood in the doorway watching her fold clothes, tuck away toiletries, gather phone chargers and vitamins. It felt surreal, watching her prepare to walk out of our home, even if it was temporary. When she zipped up the bag and slung it over her shoulder, she turned to me. "I'll call you tonight," she said. "If you want." I nodded faintly. "Okay." She stepped closer, hesitated, then reached up to touch my cheek. Her hand was warm. Familiar. "I love you, Mark," she whispered. I closed my eyes. "I love you too." And then she was gone. The door clicked shut behind her, and the silence that followed was so heavy I had to sit down. I stayed on the couch for hours, staring at nothing, listening to the faint sounds of the neighborhood outside. Birds. A dog barking. Someone mowing a lawn. Life moving forward while mine stood still. Eventually, I picked up my phone. I scrolled through old photos, smiling faces, vacations, birthdays. Us, before the cracks began to show. I didn't even realize I'd dialed until Olivia's voice came through the speaker. "Mark," she answered, surprised. "Everything okay?" "I don't know," I admitted. "Emily's on her way to you. She said she needed space." There was a pause. "I know," Olivia said quietly. "She texted me." We were silent for a beat. "Did you mean it?" I asked suddenly. "That Emily never had feelings for Matt? That it wasn't more than what you both told me?" "I swear, Mark," Olivia said. There was nothing romantic. Not from her. Not from him. It wasn't love. It wasn't an affair. Then what was it? I asked, my throat tight. Because it feels like an affair. It feels like betrayal. It was desperation, Olivia whispered. A choice none of us knew how to make the right way. And now, we're all paying for it. I leaned back against the couch, staring at the ceiling. What if I can't forgive her? I hope you can, Olivia said softly. But if you can't, I won't blame you. We hung up after that. Nothing more to say. That evening, I sat alone in the nursery. The half-painted walls. The empty crib we'd assembled together one weekend, laughing over the instructions. I ran my hand over the railing. We're going to be parents, she'd said that day, glowing with excitement. But we weren't. Not the way I thought. Not together. I closed the door gently behind me. Later that night, Emily called. Her voice was small. Tired. How are you? She asked. I don't know, I admitted again. I miss you, she whispered. I miss you too. Silence stretched between us. Mark, she said after a while, do you want me to come home? I swallowed. Not yet. Okay, she said quietly. I'll wait. When I hung up, I sat in the dark, listening to the quiet hum of the house. And I realized. I wasn't sure what I was waiting for. Forgiveness? Answers? A sign? Or maybe just the courage to decide what came next. I stood, walked back into the guest room, and lay down, staring at the ceiling again. And for the first time since I'd overheard her that night on the phone, I allowed myself to wonder. If she'd told me from the beginning, would I have said yes? Would I have been strong enough to say no? Or would I have loved her enough to sacrifice everything, even without knowing the price? Sleep didn't come easy that night. And when it finally did, it brought dreams I couldn't untangle from memories of Emily's smile, of her tears, of the moment I first held her hand all those years ago and thought, this is it. This is my person. I woke up before sunrise, feeling older. Heavier. And for the first time in weeks, no closer to an answer. The next morning, I found myself standing in the kitchen again, staring at the coffee maker as it gurgled and steamed, filling the pot. It felt mechanical, like I was playing the role of a husband in a house that no longer belonged to me. Every corner of the home held memories of us. Her slippers by the back door. A stray hair tie on the bathroom sink. The smell of her shampoo lingering on her pillow. I thought space would feel like relief. Instead, it felt like an echo chamber. Every silence louder. Every absence sharper. By midday, I couldn't take it anymore. I left the house, got in the car, and started driving without a destination. Just miles of road, the radio turned low, my thoughts a blur. Somewhere along the way, I ended up outside my brother's place. He wasn't expecting me, but when he opened the door, he took one look at me and said, "Come in. Sit down. Talk." I didn't even realize I was holding back tears until I sank onto his couch and they started falling, fast and silent. He handed me a beer, sat across from me, and waited. And for the first time since it happened, I told him everything. I told him about overhearing Emily's phone call. About Olivia and Matt. About the pregnancy. About the lie. When I finished, he let out a long whistle. "Man, that's heavy." "Yeah," I said hoarsely. "It is." He leaned forward. "Do you still love her?" I didn't hesitate. "Yes." "Do you think she loves you?" "Yes," I said again, softer. "But love doesn't feel like enough right now." He nodded thoughtfully. "Trust takes a hit like that, it's hard to come back from." "I won't lie, Mark, it's gonna take work. A lot of it. And even then, you've gotta decide if it's something you can forgive. Not just say you forgive. Really forgive." I stared down at the beer bottle, tracing the condensation with my thumb. "What if I can't forget?" "You won't forget," he said simply. "That's not how it works. But you can decide if you're willing to carry it with her. Or if it's something you have to set down, for your own sake." I sat there quietly, letting his words settle. You thinking about leaving her? He asked gently. I hesitated. Sometimes. And then other times. I think about how much we've built together. How much we've shared. And I wonder if walking away would hurt more than staying. He leaned back, rubbing his chin. Only you can answer that, brother. No judgment either way. But whatever you do, don't do it out of pride. Or punishment. Do it because it's what your heart can live with. I stayed for a while longer, talking about everything and nothing, until the sky outside darkened and I realized I needed to go home. As I drove back, I found myself pulling into Olivia's driveway instead. Her porch light was on. I sat there for a long moment before getting out. When she opened the door, her eyes widened in surprise. Mark. Is Emily here? I asked. She nodded slowly. She's upstairs. Do you want me to get her? No, I said quietly. Can we talk first? Olivia stepped aside, letting me in. We sat in the living room, a blanket draped over the couch, baby magazines scattered on the coffee table. She's been a mess, Mark, Olivia said softly. She hasn't eaten much. Barely sleeping. I'm a mess too, I admitted. She looked down. I never wanted it to happen like this. I thought we were all doing something selfless. I thought we'd all come out better for it. I swallowed hard. You thought wrong. I know, she whispered. We sat in silence for a moment before I spoke again. I need to ask you something, Olivia. And I need you to be honest. She met my eyes. Anything. Did Emily have a choice? I asked quietly. Or did you pressure her into this? Her expression softened with guilt. No. I never pressured her, Mark. I asked. She hesitated at first. Said she needed to think. But then, she came back to me, and said she wanted to help. It was her choice. I leaned back, exhaling. She didn't tell me because she knew I'd say no. I think she didn't tell you because she was scared you'd see her differently, Olivia said. Scared you'd resent her. Or think less of her. I already see her differently, I said bitterly. Whether she meant to or not. Olivia reached over, placing a gentle hand on mine. But you still love her. I do, I admitted. And that's what makes this so damn hard. She squeezed my hand lightly, then pulled back. Do you want me to tell her you're here? I hesitated. No. I needed to understand. And now I do. I stood, thanking her quietly, and left before Emily could come downstairs. Driving home felt like driving toward an answer I didn't have yet. When I walked into the empty house, it felt colder than before. I sat in the nursery again, staring at the crib, and for the first time, I whispered aloud. I don't know if I can be part of this. The words hung in the air, painful and true. And in that moment, I knew something had to give. Something had to change. I couldn't stay trapped in the in-between forever. Not for me. Not for her. Not for a baby that wasn't mine. And as I sat there, the weight of that truth pressing down on me, I realized. Tomorrow, I'd have to tell Emily. No more avoiding. No more waiting. It was time to choose. The next morning, I woke up before the sun. For a few seconds, I forgot where I was, what had happened. Then it hit me all over again. The empty side of the bed. The faint smell of her shampoo still lingering on her pillow. The ache in my chest that had become too familiar. I sat up, rubbing my face, staring at the faint glow of dawn pushing through the curtains. Today had to be different. Today, I needed to tell her what I hadn't been able to say. I made coffee, but barely touched it. Paced the house. Checked my phone a dozen times, hoping for a message that didn't come. Finally, around 9, I called her. She answered on the second ring. Her voice was quiet. Mark. Hey, I said. Are you still at Olivia's? Yeah, she replied. Do you want me to come home? I swallowed. Yeah. We need to talk. There was a pause. Okay, she said softly. I'll be there soon. The wait felt like hours. When her car finally pulled into the driveway, I watched from the window as she sat behind the wheel for a long time before finally stepping out. She looked smaller than I remembered. Fragile. When she walked inside, she set her bag down carefully, like she wasn't sure she'd be staying long. "Hi," she said quietly. "Hi." We stood across from each other, the space between us heavy. "Can we sit?" I asked. She nodded. We moved to the couch. She folded her hands in her lap, eyes downcast. "I've been thinking a lot," I began. "About everything." She bit her lip, waiting. "I know why you did it," I said. "I get that you wanted to help Olivia. I get that you thought it was a good thing. Anne. I know you didn't mean to hurt me." Tears welled in her eyes. "I swear I didn't, Mark. I thought I could keep it separate. That it wouldn't change us. But it did," I said gently. "It changed everything, Emily." A tear slid down her cheek. "I didn't want it to." "I know," I said. "But it did." She wiped her face quickly. "Can you forgive me?" I looked at her for a long time. "I don't know if I can forgive the lie," I admitted. "Not yet." "But what's harder, Emily? I don't know if I can be part of this child's life." Her breath hitched. "Mark. It's not because I'd hate the baby," I said quickly. "It's not the baby's fault. But every time I think about it, I remember how it happened. How you hid it from me. How I wasn't part of the decision. I didn't want you to say no," she whispered. "I was afraid if you said no, I'd resent you. And if you said yes, you'd regret it. I thought, if I just did it, we'd figure it out after. But you took that choice away from me," I said. "And that's what I can't shake." She covered her face with her hands, sobbing softly. "I was wrong. I know I was wrong. I wish I could take it back." I felt my own throat tighten. "I wish you'd trusted me enough to let me be part of the choice. Even if it meant saying no." We sat in silence, her crying quietly, me staring at the floor. Finally, she lowered her hands, her voice raw. "Do you want me to leave?" I shook my head. "I don't want you to leave, Emily. But I think, maybe we need time. Real time. Apart. To figure out if we can rebuild. Or if this broke us." She closed her eyes. "I'll do whatever you need." I leaned forward, elbows on my knees. "I love you, Emily. That hasn't changed. But love isn't enough if we don't have trust." "I know," she whispered. "I want to earn it back. I'll do anything, Mark." I looked at her, the woman I'd built a life with. The woman who'd kept this secret from me out of love, fear, hope. The woman who'd carried another man's child for a friend, without telling me until it was too late. And I realized. I didn't hate her. I didn't want to punish her. But I wasn't sure I could stay. "I'm going to stay with my brother for a while," I said gently. "Not to hurt you. Not to punish you. I just need space. To think. To breathe." She nodded, fresh tears slipping down her cheeks. "I understand. I don't know what's next," I admitted. "But I know I need time to figure it out." "I'll wait," she whispered. "However long it takes. I'll wait." I stood, walked to the bedroom, packed a small bag. She followed me to the door, standing in the entryway as I slipped on my jacket. "I love you, Mark," she said again, her voice breaking. I turned, looked at her one last time. "I love you too, Emily." And then I walked out. The air outside was cold. Sharp. But it felt real. Honest. As I drove away, I didn't know what tomorrow would bring. I didn't know if we'd find our way back. But for the first time since I overheard that phone call, I felt something close to clarity. Not hope. Not closure. But a beginning. A beginning of something new, even if I didn't know what it was yet. And as the road stretched out before me, I promised myself one thing. Whatever choice I made next, it would be mine. Fully. Freely. No more lies. No more secrets. Just the truth. Wherever it led.